Alright, so given all the legal troubles that Jonathan Majors has had, and how poorly Kang has been written and relatively received, even though most people did kind of like his performance in Quantumania, he was probably one of the bright spots in Quantumania, which isn't saying much. Kang has pseudo-officially been dropped as the Phase 4, 5, 6 main villain. Or at least they're going to it's hard to say. Marvel is going through this level of, okay, we tried a bunch of stuff, things aren't working now. We've overextended ourselves to a point that lots of things we may have been, mediocre at best. Which, given where Marvel was at, where every single movie that came out was this massive thing to watch, now they're kind of like, maybe I'll see it, maybe I won't. I did find it kind of funny. So, Taika Waititi, he's got a movie coming out, and it's like the first goal wins. And we talk about the films that he's done. It's like Jojo Rabbit, Thor Ragnarok. And I was like, wait a minute, he did Thor Love and Thunder too. If you don't want to claim that you made that movie while promoting another movie, that lets me know how bad that one was received internally. Or some people will be like, oh yeah, Thor 4 kind of sucked, I don't want to see this new movie. So, and people are like, now introduce Doom. No. You can't introduce Doom without the Fantastic Four. And the Fantastic Four, who knows if that will actually work, given Marvel's current track record. That's up in the air unless they drastically redo what they're going to do for creative. Find people who go, have you read the comic? Yeah. Do you like the comic? Yeah. Do you know why the comic sold? Do you know why the IP is popular? If you can't answer yes to all of these questions, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be the person to work on this property. Doom would not be a good person to introduce as your new villain. Doom requires a lot of work. He's not just a tech dude. Yes, he has done time travel, but you have to kind of establish that he's done time travel. He's also a magic user. It's like Doctor Strange Doom, depending upon writer. So, okay, so that makes someone who both has technological abilities. He rules a country, which we haven't introduced yet. He has ability to time travel. He said he used celestial technology. There's so many things that he's done, you can't just be like, and here's your new villain. That's what they did with Kang. It was like, and here's Kang at the end of Loki season 1. And we're gonna kill him. Okay. Here he is in Ant-Man 3. Okay. And we're gonna kill him. Okay. Here he is in Loki 2, which I enjoyed, but it's like Doctor Who meets Marvel. I was fine with it. It's like, and he's like, I'm just a regular person. That sounds horrible. But there's so many versions of him. No. You know what's scarier than one dude? 1,000 of one dude. No. That doesn't make somebody scary. Other things they had mentioned had been the evil Doctor Strange. Okay. Maybe. So, multiverse of madness, evil Doctor Strange. It's like, oh, okay. It's a stretch. Multiverse level threat. Yeah. Or maybe, crazy idea, hear me out on this. With most of the current Avengers gone, had they spent time developing, a rogues gallery, this could be a great time for almost like a Masters of Evil sort of thing. But they've got Thunderbolts. Maybe Thunderbolts leads to some sort of villain team that requires a new team of Avengers to show up. Marvel very quickly and easily painted themselves into a corner. The Thanos storyline and Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity Saga, like that's a hard thing to follow up on. And now it's multiverse stuff. Okay. Do you have a good idea for a villain? Kang. Okay. Kang's a solid villain, good pedigree, good in the comics. And you're gonna kill him all the time. Yeah. Now, at the end of Loki season 2, Loki is someone which can make him an interesting villain. But he just finished doing a redemption arc. It's like sorry, Marvel, the issue you have is the issue you created for yourself. I mean, at this point, you might as well go, the new villain is, I think it wasn't Icarus, the villain from the Eternals? It's like, you might as well just pick an Eternal and be like, and a Celestial's coming to Earth, and everyone has to join forces with all of the remaining characters who we still have signed on to contracts. Will show up and attack a Celestial, and then they can finally deal with, you know, the Celestial head and hand that are coming out of the Earth. You know, they'd be like, all right, we'll see how Miss Marvel and Kate Bishop and Echo, how they deal with a Celestial, and maybe Black Knight. Do we still have him under contract? And it's like, White Vision is the new villain because multiverse radiation black girl magic. Listen with the Skrulls. We'll do Secret Invasion. Oh, but you already did that as a Disney Plus show that no one really watched. We'll have Silver Surfer show up and he'll be a villain. Then Galactus, and then we can't do Galactus unless you have Fantastic Four because that's one of their main villains. Onslaught. We'll just do Onslaught. Can't establish the X-Men yet. Just do the show and we'll fix it in post. But you can't. You've extended all of your graphic design people are all exhausted because you did so many things back to back. Toxic online trolls. That's the main villain. No, that was She-Hulk. So they went from this really well constructed, you know, here's the flow, and then, you know, the Disney beast got a hold. It was like, I want more. Give me the content. And then they produced a lot of content. They didn't really go anywhere. And now multiple shows are like, all right, it's time to reshoot everything. It's like, well, we didn't kill off all of our... we did kill off all of our villains. Unless you want to be like, and here's Baron Zemo. Okay. And we killed Whiplash, right? Because Whiplash is dead. Maybe they'll call up Sony and be like, hey, guys, quick question. Can we borrow Norman Osborn and do a Dark Avenger storyline? And we take a bunch of the villains and put them in costumes? Can we do that? You know, that was the thing that with Justice League, when the idea was to make a super villain team to face Justice League. I'm like, that's a good idea. I would like to see, instead of here's the one main dude and a bunch of smaller, you know, the disposable minions, be like, here's a bunch of characters with similar powers. You know, that's fine. That way, then you can do, you know, instead of having your giant set piece where it's, you know, here's our team of, 10, 15 heroes battling 1,000 random CGI multi-limbed aliens. You can do, okay, you know, you're fighting this guy, you're fighting this guy, you're fighting this guy. It ends up being like Civil War, but there's actual villains. And Civil War worked, because instead of making this giant grandiose thing with this space laser, you get to do a bunch of like smaller battles. Those battles normally have sort of personal consequences. Like that, those sort of things can kind of work. Just Marvel decided to kill off almost all their villains, with the exception of, you know, Loki, who now is stuck somewhere, or if he were to leave, who knows what would happen. So I don't want to see Doom. At this point, I almost need to kind of go, you know, instead of worrying about your next big Avengers movie, figure out what you're going to do, how you're going to, you know, be like, well, what about Avengers Kang Dynasty? Don't worry about it. Secret War, you don't worry about it. We're in no way, shape, or form ready to do the massive team-up movie. Oh. Let's just treat that like, you know, the half dozen Star Wars films that were slated to happen that never did. You know, just like, okay, We're going to push that stuff to the side. Maybe instead, they've already hinted at it, work towards a young Avengers. And then you can work towards having a less than major villain. Doesn't always need to be, well, we've already done, world-conquering threats and universe-conquering threats and multiversal threats. You know what would be great? Crazy idea. Take more of like the street level characters, put them against somebody who's much more, like street level. Do a few smaller movies where it's not a $300 million special effects, high laden thing. Do one or two smaller films. Develop the characters. If you want to do a Young Avengers style group, and instead it's Kingpin, and Kingpin has a few other relatively, notable B or C list villains with them, cool. Do that. You don't need to do these massive, grandiose things all the time. Make something that's smaller, contained. Have it work. Know who your core audience is. Actually try to play towards your core audience. You can't pick a niche audience and then complain when the majority doesn't show up. It's like, well, this movie's not made for you. Okay. How am I to go see it? Well, you told me it's not made for me, so I decided to go see something else. That's not how this works. If someone comes up and says, I don't care what a 40-year-old white guy says about something, don't be upset when, the 40-year-old white guy's gonna go, you gonna see it? Yeah, fine. Having said that, I watched the Miss Marvel show. Once you got past the first episode was hard to get past. I don't know who it was made for. Second episode wasn't like the first episode. So that one was very inconsistent. I can see why I got really low ratings. If you watched the first episode, you went, yeah, no, this is not right for my generation or the generation after me. It's written for an incredibly niche audience. But then once I developed more of the family, you kind of went, there's actually more to this. And I think the reason that people didn't want to go see the Marvels is, one, I don't think people were really clamoring for a sequel. And two, unless you watched WandaVision, which told you nothing of Monica Rambeau, unless you watched Miss Marvel, which told you everything you needed to know about the setup to this show, to the movie, you probably didn't care. And it's like, with Captain America 4, I haven't seen Falcon Winter Soldier. I've seen enough of kind of go, it's probably not good. I haven't seen Hawkeye. Heard Hawkeye wasn't that bad. I'm like, okay, well, there's things you finish watching Loki season 2 as like a binge, and I liked it. But I think again, you've got Tom Hiddleston does a really good job as the character, and people actually care about him and how he does Loki and what he actually brings to the table. There were some nice character moments in that, and I'm like, there's some good stuff here, even though it dealt with, here's the collapse of the multiverse and all time. They still made enough smaller ones kind of go, I like what they're doing. This is massive calamity, but here's a small thing going on in this little granular area. It's like War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds, some interpretations are here's what this singular family is doing during this massive crisis. And other times, those sort of stories are, here's the whole world dealing with. It's like, well, can you empathize with the whole world suffering or with a singular family? So when you watch the movie Signs, massive catastrophe going on. What's it focus on? This one family. Are you just trying to identify with the family or with a country going through a problem? And the problem we have with Marvel now is everything's like, we got the stakes. Well, we did a worldwide threat. Yeah. I was like, well, actually, first Avengers, it was New York. Second Avengers, it was like, well, we've gone from New York. Yeah, well, now we're gonna have this. We're gonna float part of a country that if it lands, it'll wipe out all the planet. Okay, so we've gone from United States level problem to global problem. Okay, where to now? The universal cataclysmic problem. Okay. We resolved that. Cool. Now, multiverse, time travel. That's okay. Well, where do you go from there? Doom. No, you escalate to the point where it's like, well, what's the current new big bad? No. I would love to see them go back and do something more grounded. Which I think if they do that, make it slightly more character driven, make it for under 100 million. So they only need to make 300 to turn a profit instead of make it for 300 and they require like, you know, almost $1 billion to make money. I'm interested to see what their Fantastic Four looks like. Fantastic Four has yet to be done well on the big screen. X-Men has been done well, and it's been done okay, and it's been done poorly. So they very easily can kind of go, okay, we'll look at the X-Men franchise. Okay, which ones did well? These. Okay, what about them did well? This. These ones did poorly. Okay, how do the ones that did well and the ones that did poorly, how do those compare? And then you'll see this really clear differentiation between the ones that were critically acclaimed and did well at the box office and the ones that didn't. There's a lovely roadmap there. Quite literally, X marks the spot on how you create a successful X-Men franchise. They've done enough of them in little, you know, trilogies. So, you know, Marvel has made their bed. They built a house around that bed, and now they have to lie in it. They don't like what they've done. You know, they got too big. They got overextended. They threw everything at the wall to see what sticks, and none of it stuck. So I just got a wall with a bunch of random stuff smeared all over it. And bringing in Doom will not fix it. If they try to bring in someone now and shoehorn them in at the last minute, it's not going to work. We saw that with Kang. Kang felt like an afterthought villain, kind of thrown him in. He's a big bad guy. He's been behind everything. I don't feel that he has. I don't feel that he's this, you know, big all-encompassing villain who's beyond the range of Thanos. Thanos, who showed up, you know, as being the person who was behind Loki, and it was him thrown in just enough me kind of go, okay, I know who he is, know what's going on. You know, they did enough where you didn't see his fingers and everything, but you felt him in everything, and they built him up over several years. Now you're looking at, you know, almost a decade, just about. Now you're looking at, okay, we've got 3 years to build up a new big bad guy and have him be the crux of potentially 2 Avengers movies. No, I'm sorry, you made enough mistakes along the way. Trying to throw in Doom as Alpha Band-Aid will not fix anything.